auto set off. Yeah, clutch feels great. Shifter feels great. Trying to rev it out a little bit. Here we go. Up in the second gear. So yeah, that sounds really good, right? It's a 6,500 RPM. Welcome to Drive Culture. I'm Jonathan Rivers, and today we have the 1994 Honda Prelude Si 4WS. And I'm going to tell you why this might be the best generation of all the Preludes. So we'll go over the exterior, the interior, the powertrain, and of course, take it for a drive. So if this is content you're after or you're new to the channel, please be sure to click that bell to subscribe to come back for more. And with that, let's get after it. Now guys, we have a very special Prelude on the channel today. And if you guys have already watched, you know we've got lots of heritage vehicles here on Drive Culture. Everything from the DC2 Integra to, yes, the 5th generation Prelude and several other key pieces of Honda and Acura history, thanks to the American Honda Collection Hall. That's right, here in Southern California at Honda's US headquarters, they have their own private museum that's actually open to the public most days, where you can go in and see their amazing display of heritage products. And I've been lucky enough to actually get several of them out of that museum and out here on the road where they belong. But this one in particular has a mind-blowingly low amount of driving miles on it. And I'm gonna say that for the drive portion. So be sure to watch the video to the end so you can hear how many miles this car actually has on it. So let's go back and let's talk about the Prelude. So as I mentioned, this is the 4th generation of the Honda Prelude, right? There was 3 prior, dating back to the 70s, you know, all the way to the mid 90s for this generation, and then ending in a 5th generation, which again, like I said, I already had that video here on Drive Culture, ending in the Type SH trim. Now, Honda's also announced that there's a new 6th generation coming to the market that will also bring that coupe body style back to the overall Honda lineup of vehicles. But let's talk about this 4th generation one. So yes, it was a big styling departure from some of the previous generation Preludes. Now, it still had a very short rear overhang, this very long hood, but it did get rid of those kind of iconic pop-up headlights, and it really brought a kind of softer styling design language to the Prelude, especially out rear. Now, because of that, you can imagine the fan base at the time was kind of up in arms, and you know, maybe this didn't get the love that some of the other generations of Prelude got. But as you'll watch from the video, and especially during the drive, this car is still awesome. It still drove awesome, and it still had that Prelude DNA through and through. So let's talk about this particular example. Like I said, it's a 1994, painted in Milano red, and yes, it looks fantastic. You know, this car is in pristine condition, both on the exterior and admittedly even more so on the interior. This thing is basically brand new, and you'll hear why when you hear just how few miles this car has been driven. So back in 1994, if you wanted this kind of all-in top, you know, SI 4WS trim, the MSRP back then was $24,510. So, you know, by modern standards, that's not so bad. And I mean, to get something like an SI in today's performance dollars, you're over $40,000, right? But here, back in the day, for mid-20s, you were able to get a really sporty 2+2 coupe. So that speaks volumes to the performance value that the Prelude nameplate had at the time. So with that, next, let's go ahead and do a full exterior walk around of this 1994 Honda Prelude Si 4WS. All right, guys, here we are with this 1994 Honda Prelude Si 4WS. And like I said, this was a big styling departure from the previous 3 generations of Prelude, right? It lost those kind of iconic pop-up headlights, but it also just went to a totally new like styling direction, right? And not only its surfacing, its shape, and even just the way the front and rear look compared to the other generations of Prelude. Now, as I mentioned already, I do have a 5th generation Prelude here on the channel, which also, admittedly didn't have the pop-up headlights, but went to a much more boxy kind of square design, where this generation was a little bit more soft in its styling and surfacing. So let's go ahead and talk right about the exterior styling. As I mentioned, this is painted in Milano red, kind of now a historic or heritage red color. For Honda, now they use things like rally red, but it's still this kind of cherry red that, it just shows off the sporty intentions of this coupe body style. So let's go ahead and kind of jump in. It may be hard to see some of the surfacing, but the Prelude has these really two kind of sharp character lines that come down to the front fascia and meet where that H mark is. So it has the chrome Honda emblem there, but yeah, just a really long hood. You can tell not only from the front, but once we get to the side, that was kind of a signature element of Preludes, was having that short rear overhang with that long front end. So here we'll go ahead, you can see it's got these kind of clear tail headlights, and you can see that it even has these little ducts here off to the side, which are actually functional, which is kind of cool. And so it has that on both sides of the headlights. Down below, you can see that you actually have your turn signals down there, and also some functional openings as well. So again, that's always been a thing about Hondas. They've tried to have like functional openings, to help with performance, and in this case, to power that SI powertrain, which we'll talk about here shortly. But again, I think this car, although it looked different than the previous generations, I think it looks really good. So let's go ahead and take in the entire side profile of this generation Prelude. You can see that sporty spoiler in the back, but here again, you can see that it had the kind of blacked out treatment. There's really no chrome on this generation. They have the lower black kit that goes on the front and the sides. This one had the splash guards up front and rear as well. But let's go ahead and take a look. So again, these are like the original wheels. They are pristine. Admittedly, not the original tires, which is okay. But these are some Yokohama Advans on here. These are in the original series though. So these are 205 55 R15. So you have some 15-inch wheels on this, and they look really good, right? It's cool to see like just that simple kind of polished look. Has that iconic H logo there, but without the border to it. So just the H kind of floating there. But I think that looks really good. We'll go ahead and take a look. So you got the side mirrors here. Really nothing fancy. This generation again went to a steel sunroof design. So the Prelude, you may not have known, was one of the first Hondas to actually introduce a moonroof. But in this generation, they actually went with it's basically cutting out the top of the body panel. Well, so it still has, the ability to open and whatnot, but again, it's not a glass moonroof on this particular generation. Here you can see the side door handles, the valet keyhole as well, and you can also see here in the rear. So square tire and wheel setup here, so we won't go into those details. You have your gas cap, and then we'll make our way to the rear. You can see that spoiler. So this for me is a good view of the car, but this is definitely maybe one of the more controversial, because this is also a really big styling departure from those previous 3 generations of Prelude. So it has kind of a little bit higher trunk lid design, and went to these more like big vertical tail lights, where some of the previous were a little bit more elongated, a little bit more horizontal in their design. But again, I still think it looks like a sporty coupe, right? And that little spoiler on top has the integrated brake lamp. Down below, you've got the iconic, Honda H in chrome. It's a little bit squared off, for like the 80s and 90s emblem. You have Prelude and that like iconic Prelude cursive spelled out there on the right. And then you'll see it says electronic control 4WS. So that's right. The Prelude had 4-wheel steering, and this was the first generation where it was actually electronically controlled. So it's really cool because yes, all 4 wheels can actually turn, and yes, it actually does help with like low speed maneuverability and just getting around town. So as well as adding some, some good driving dynamics as well. So here you can see the lower fascia and that kind of sporty dual exhaust off to the right there. So those huge outlets. And again, I think it gives really sporty intentions for the Prelude. And of course, I gotta, being a 90s car, I gotta point out the retracting antenna. That's not really a thing anymore. But yeah, overall, again, I think this car looked really good. But like I said, there were some people that, really harked on the design when it came out because it was a pretty big departure. So with that, I think we've covered everything on the exterior of this 4th gen Prelude. So next, let's go ahead and hop inside to talk about the interior. All right, guys, here we are inside this 1994 Honda Prelude Si 4WS. Uh, it is immaculate. That is the first thing I'm going to say. Obviously, the exterior was in really good condition. Even the paint quality was still really good. Again, I'm still not going to tell you just yet how many miles this car has on it, but it's obvious because this thing is literally brand new. Like, it literally just drove off the dealer lot. Like, you would not be fooled otherwise to think that, because the quality and the care on this car is absolutely incredible. So let's talk about what we got here. So first and foremost, like, is the overall design. It's a huge departure from what we see in today's lineup of Honda and Acura vehicles, or even the marketplace. But you've got great visibility. We'll talk more about that during the drive. But this kind of like, almost like stair step dash, where really all of your displays and information are here in the center, right? And it's kind of hidden back behind this upper visor area here. But it has a really good design that stayed true to the heritage of Prelude. Now, let's talk right about it. The steering wheel. The steering wheel is a great size. It's a great diameter. It's very thin. It is leather wrapped, has some stitching on here, but otherwise it's very simple, like a lot of the steering wheels of the 80s and 90s. You got two buttons here for your horns. Even the Honda logo is kind of embossed into this airbag cover. It's not the chrome logo. It's not something, stamped onto the airbag cover. It's actually kind of embossed in there, which is a kind of a nice touch, actually. Over here to the side, you do have some controls for your cruise control. You have basically your turn signal, your wiper stalks behind here as well. Admittedly, right off to the back, though, you do have controls to actually activate your cruise control, as well as open and close this sunroof, which we'll talk about here in a second. Other than that, like I said, you got some great gauges in front of you, super large, easy to read, and they do light up this like light blue color, which is really interesting. A lot of cars back in the 80s and 90s had that either like aqua green or blue color here, but I think it looks really good and really sporty. You also have a lot of information over here, as well as your clock and radio and things like that. You do have your HVAC vent controls. Everything is sliding function, and that was a thing of the 90s. And again, because this car is pristine, everything works. The buttons work. Everything looks and feels like it's brand new. Further down below, you do have a double DIN slot with a single DIN Honda radio in there. It actually does say it's a Dolby system. So even back then, you had a pretty good sound system. Now, there's only like 6 speakers on this particular trim, but they do have this kind of nice speaker mesh up here on the dash. So it does look really premium, to be fair. And yes, the radio still works to this day. I had it turned on. I was listening to some FM radio. It still works and even sounds pretty good. Now, again, like a lot of cars in the 80s and 90s, you got an ashtray and a cigarette lighter. Again, a lot of people like to smoke back then. I guess they still do today. You have your traditional glove box in here. Actually, you twist and turn it. There you go, to open it up. But let's come here to the business. So we'll talk about how this feels during the drive, but this is the 5-speed manual transmission. It has a really nice, chunky, kind of square shift knob to it. Very easy to read numbers. Super good engagement. Again, we'll talk about that during the drive. You got this large side brake here. You have your controls for your mirror, and yes, they are powered control. Your hazard switch, Again, a little cup holder that's kind of hidden away, some dummy buttons and whatnot. But then here in the center armrest, you have just a little bit of storage space back there, not a lot to it. On the doors up at the top, you do have controls for your windows and your locks. That's true for both the driver and passenger. But other than that, it's pretty Spartan in here, which was totally par for the course back in the 90s. Now, one of the last things I'll talk about before we hop in the rear are these front seats. I mean, not only do obviously, again, this car is so few miles, the leather's in fantastic condition, the carpet's in fantastic condition, but anyway, these seats are like a true one-piece design, truly showing the sporty intentions of the Prelude brand at that time. And, it's a fixed headrest, doesn't go up or down, but man, for where I sit, it feels fantastic. It's a perfect position for my head. And honestly, there's some really aggressive bolstering here on the sides and down low. And even the lumbar support is very aggressively bolstered with these seats. So overall, this is a fantastic place to be. Great visibility, good materials, and good features for the time. So next, let's go ahead and see if I can actually squeeze into the rear. All right, guys, here we are in the rear of the Prelude Si. And I'm not gonna lie, I don't even think I could get the seat back. Here we go. Well, all right, I just clicked the seat into place, and you can see I'm 5'10", so no, I don't want to drive like this. I don't want to ride like this. This is way too tight back here. I mean, it really is just a 2+2, and by +2, I mean like infants or children or very very short adults, because it is tight. Like I can barely, almost basically can't get my size 12 shoes up under the seat. Clearly, my knees have to come along the side. Maybe that's why the seats are styled this way. But position wise, I'm actually got good position. I'm not touching the rear glass. It is a little toasty back here, but honestly, again, these seats are, there's a lot of good cushioning back here and they feel really good. You even have this little like cubby space here, and of course an ashtray back here as well. That's kind of standard for the course. You do get a mat pocket seat on the passenger side, and just some little places to rest your arms here off to the side as well. But no, kind of center armrest or anything like that. So it's pretty Spartan back here, and man, it is tight. So like I said, this was a week, this is like a GT cruiser car. Really, these seats were like to throw things back here or to store stuff, not take adults back here. But I wanted to show you how much space actually exists here in the rear. So next, let's go ahead and check out the cargo area. All right, next, let's go ahead and check out the cargo area of this Honda Prelude Si. So you got to use the mechanical key to go ahead and open it up. There is a latch inside that you pull up to also get it to open, but I'm going to go ahead and from the outside, twist and turn, lift this up. It's not too heavy. It actually is somewhat light, despite having the pretty big spoiler on the back there. But inside, there's actually really good materials back here. It's actually a pretty good opening as well. It is a little bit probably higher up than some of the previous gen Preludes before this, but still easy to get things in and out of the vehicle. And you can see there's no folding seat here on the driver's side, but if you pull back, you can actually push through on that side only, right? So it gives you just a little bit of a pass through once you pull that latch, but it's nice. So it gives you a little bit of extra usability out of your coupe. But with that said, the actual cubic feet back here is 7.9 cubic feet of space. So again, pretty good size for your kind of sport coupe, your kind of little getaway car. But in the back here, you can actually lift this area up to reveal a full compact spare tire, guys. There's actually a full spare and the equipment to get that off and on the car as well. So pretty surprising to have that much packaging and space. But overall, there's pretty good space that was competitive for its time. So next, let's go ahead and talk about this awesome powertrain. All right, guys, here we are with the 1994 Honda Prelude Si 4WS powertrain. This engine is a 2.3-liter inline four-cylinder engine, naturally aspirated, and
In this configuration, it makes 160 horsepower and 156 foot-pounds of torque. Now, of course, it's front-wheel drive only, and this version has that 5-speed manual transmission. But there's no better way than to prove it out than to get behind the wheel. So next, let's go ahead and take this thing for a drive.
All right, guys, here we are inside the 1994 Honda Prelude Si, and we're gonna go ahead and take this thing for a drive. So go ahead and put on my seatbelt, grab the mechanical key, right? Everything is total 90s here. So insert foot in on the clutch, twist it up, starts right up. We have the AC on. It's kind of a hot day out there. So before we set off here, I mean, it is crazy, guys. Like, I just was able to pull this thing out of the garage and get it ready for today. When I left, this car had 398 miles on it. And now I actually just crossed 400 miles, right? It is insane, guys. This car is literally being broken in during this review. It is absolutely amazing, and it looks the part on the exterior and the interior like we covered, but I can already tell just in the quick spin that I had, it feels the part too. Like, mechanically everything feels perfect. It feels like I'm literally driving a brand new Honda Prelude. So with that, I'm gonna go ahead and take off. So foot on the brake, side brake down, up into first gear. It's that 5-speed manual, and set off, and just like that, take off. Clutch feels amazing, shifter feels amazing. Like, excuse me for laughing, it is perfect. It is like, literally, I just went and bought a brand new Prelude off the dealership lot in the 90s, and here I am driving it 31 years later. Like, it is such a serene experience. I can't tell you what it feels like to drive a car with so few miles in such good condition from this era, right? Like, it's actually really amazing. So even heel and toe is relatively easy to do. So all things are good. So I'm gonna go ahead and set out. One of the things, right, about this generation Prelude is that we talked about this in the styling, in the exterior, but this is a pretty big departure from the 3 generations prior to this, right? Still kind of based on being an Accord coupe. That's kind of like what this took the positioning of in the Honda lineup at the time, but it definitely has a much different character than the Accord, right? It has a very short rear overhang, very long hood up front. It really does feel like this kind of like GT coupe. Now, as you guys can see, and we talked about in the interior, these back seats are basically useless, but again, it is like a little 2+2, right? But like, as I sit here and I drive this now, I mean, the visibility is fantastic, right? I mean, you got lots of glass up front, these huge side glass windows here, a lot of visibility out the rear, and even though you have that nice little spoiler, you can see it in the back, it doesn't impede your rear visibility as well. So amazing glass, amazing visibility, very thin A-pillars here. The side mirrors are a little small, but you get used to it. But again, I think overall, it feels like you're driving a go-kart, right? Like, this car is very low to the ground. You have this very low design for the dash, and with all the visibility, you just feel like you're sitting on the ground. I definitely remember feeling like this also when I drove the previous older generation Integras as well. You just feel so low to the ground compared to modern day cars, and that's because you are much lower to the ground. The other thing that stands out almost instantly is how light this car is right there. And this car just sounds really good, guys. I haven't really gotten into it just yet, but not only does it sound good, but one of the things that's been pretty impressive so far is that this car is actually really quiet, right? I mean, I've got the AC on today. It's kind of a hot one out here, but outside of that, like, this car is really good MVH. It feels, even by modern standards, it's actually very quiet. And again, I know it's a brand new car still in that sense that it's got very little mileage, but no, I mean, it's very well built. There's no creaks and rattles. There's very little, if any, wind noise. Maybe just a little bit of tire noise. That's it. So overall, that's really good. And so we're gonna go ahead, over this train track here. I'm gonna get up into third gear and just go under 40 miles an hour, 38. And that was really good, guys. I mean, I went at speed, didn't slow down, and there was like very little shock, to the suspension or the chassis. Nothing got upset. Now, this next one here is a little bit more aggressive, so I'm gonna go ahead over this around the same speed. I'm still in third gear. Actually get to just 40 miles an hour as I'm going over here. So here we go. Now, that was really good. I mean, gone over that a million times. Low cars, tuner cars, super cars. Usually you get, pretty good undulation in there, and, definitely, a little bit of like shock to the, chassis, but nothing on this. It felt rock solid. So that was really good. So the other thing is, man, this car handles really good. Obviously, I was talking about it from a visibility perspective, but it definitely kind of like feels like you're driving a go-kart, right? It's really good. So I'm gonna go ahead up here, try to get into it a little bit, being mindful of the braking. But here we go. Set off. Yeah, clutch feels great. Shifter feels great. Try to rev it out a little bit. Here we go. Up in the second gear. So yeah, that sounds really good, right? It's a 6,500 RPM cutoff there, and it definitely lets you, rev it out to that 6,500 RPM. So here we go. Great turn in, man. It feels good. And here we go, riding out second gear again. Oh man, it sounds really good. It sounds really good, guys. And the fact that, again, it's picking a really good speed. I mean, it sounds like, it's just kind of this linear revving going on, and so you kind of look down and you realize you're doing like well over 60 miles an hour. Like, this car is not slow. And like I said, a lot of the fact has to do that it just is like really, really light, and the overall chassis and the tuning on this car is really good. So just definitely a very, very fun car to drive. So let me know your guys' thoughts and comments down below on, which generation Prelude was your favorite. I know, this fourth generation Prelude maybe doesn't get all the love that the previous three generations had, or even the fifth generation, which went to that kind of more boxier style and added Type SH and things like that. But the four-wheel steering on this car, you can feel it. It does help rotate around, and you can actually see the wheels, turning in on, when you're filming from the outside. And so, I mean, it definitely, kind of changed the game when it came out. But I know because of the lack of the pop-up headlights and the styling direction change, it maybe wasn't as popular as some of the other versions. So again, let me know which Prelude generation you like the best. I definitely want to go back and try to get every generation of Prelude here on Drive Culture. I already have the review of the fifth generation on the channel, so if you haven't watched that one, be sure to watch that video as well. And then let me know if you guys have interest in this new sixth generation Prelude that's still coming out. Obviously, it's going to be a little bit different, in the fact that it's not a manual transmission, and it's using that new two-motor hybrid powertrain system from Honda. But if you've watched Drive Culture and the other reviews on things like the Civic with that powertrain in it, you know that it's really good. It's got great performance and good fuel efficiency to bat. So, I mean, let me know if you guys think that might make for a great recipe by throwing it in a new coupe body style like that sixth generation Prelude. Of course, once that product comes to market, I'll be happy to bring it to the channel. So with that, we're gonna go ahead and wrap up this drive review. All right, guys, that's a wrap. What did you think of this 1994 Honda Prelude Si 4WS? Is this the best generation of all the Preludes? Let me know your guys' thoughts and comments down below. Like I mentioned, I plan to bring all generations of Prelude here to Drive Culture, and I already have a review of that 5th generation Prelude, the Type SH, here on Drive Culture. So if you haven't watched that video, be sure to like and watch that one as well. And then let me know, do you guys want to see that new 6th generation Prelude once that comes to market? Of course, I'd be happy to bring that content here to Drive Culture as well. So if you've joined us before, thank you so much. But if you're new to the channel, please be sure to click that bell to subscribe to come back for more. Thanks, and we'll see you at the next episode.